Let's see what we can shake up. Alright, we gonna dive deep today. I don't have this planned out really or nothing like that. We gonna get right. Just stick with me, stick with me. Alright. I had uploaded this short, and we're gonna start it off by playing this video.
Stand your slave, probably connected to slave. That's why I see movies about the Matrix and all these multi-dimensions, all this shit. It's because it's real. You understand me? All the symbols are all
This is my
everywhere.
page, by
It's
the
like
way.
a sine wave. It's Saturn, Matrix. It's fucking crazy. Okay, you're sine waves. Everything's electricity. Everybody's talking about. Let's backtrack here. Everybody's talking about the flat circular plane because you're not on a globe. You're on a flat circular plane. So the dome at the top. Yeah, there's a dome. Okay, deal with it. I'm not gonna fucking get into it. If you don't know what the hell's going on by now, that we're living on a flat circular plane and we live in a Saturn matrix, you might want to look into that shit real quick and then come back to my video. Because I'm not gonna sugarcoat it like everybody else is and explain it to you and sit you down and hold your hand. Well, fucking look it up, okay? So we're on a flat circular plane. There's a dome at the top. Okay, here's the sun, right? Everybody's talking about, oh, you know, we can get over to Antarctica. There's more land. You know, the flat earthers are talking about more land, but there's a treaty over in Antarctica. Well, the more land is in the South Pole. The South Pole is where the center of the dish is. Center of the dish, where all compasses point to. Okay, they fucking they rub it in your face. Do you understand me? That's you need to get ahead. We need to catch up on some reality here. But okay, so we got the flat Earth plane, the center of the dish, where all compasses point. That's apparently where the black hole sun is. What people are saying, their land of perpetual twilight, heaven or whatever the fuck. So let's say we could actually get through, which we can't, because apparently, although all the different countries are at each other's throats, they can agree on shoreline sea bass at the fucking the South Pole for some reason. Yeah, okay. Anyway, so let's just say for instance, we actually can make it to the center of the dish, right? So let's say, okay, well, we've made it through, and
Don't mind my
the
screen.
satellite hole is a black hole. They fucking showed it to us. And maybe that's why everybody's hiding their eyes, right? Because it's rubbing it in our fucking face that this is the fucking brain. Do you understand me? Okay? Bridge the fucking gap. It's a fucking brain. It's always been a fucking brain. We never left the brain. Tool sings about it all the time. We are all one mind. They tell you this shit. Everybody's talking about, oh, if we just go to this side, we'll be okay because this side is way more perpetual. It's a fucking brain. You're sitting on the left side fighting with yourself. Do you understand? I understand about the reptilians and the greys and everybody. They're in control. They're the ones fighting with you. They're the ones splitting you in two. Split right in two. Split right in two. Do you understand me? We're sitting on the left side, okay? We're sitting in the left fucking side, and we're just we're eating ourselves. We're eating ourselves. Do you understand? The sun rotates around. The black hole sun. We feed wherever energy goes, energy flows. So energy flows through the black hole sun. It's just rotating around. The snake bites its own tail. Do you understand? We're eating ourselves. So you need to bridge the gap. It doesn't matter if you come over here. Yeah, it'll be fucking kick-ass, but you still haven't bridged the gap. You have to bridge the gap. You have to find the neutrality. You have to open your fucking mind. You are inside your mind. You guys are still inside consciousness. You never left consciousness. It's always been here. It's just you're on the left side. You're on the shitty side. Do you understand? They're on the right side. You know, they talk about it here. The gematria, right? The right side is the good side, the left side is the bad side. If you look up Frederick Wurst, he talks about the gematria code that the Pope and everybody talk about. Son of God is ascending and all this shit. It's the fucking brain. Do you understand? Okay, everybody's trying to fucking break it down. We're in a fucking brain. We are energy. Energy surging
Don't
through
mind
the
my
fucking
screen.
brain. It's consciousness. We're consciousness, and we're fighting each other. Do you understand? We're fighting each other. And this is the brain. Okay? And we're on the left side.
Alright, this is the reason.
Most people have no clue that in 2023, the best way to make money on Amazon is not.
Alright, there's a reason I was showing that. Because my theory has been mu and nu. A and B, left side, right side of the brain. But knowing that this whole simulation or grid, when it's tied to your nervous system or your brain, that means it's connected outside of you and inside of you. Reason I showed that video because the brain deals with the outputs and the inputs of you, which is dealing with your nervous system. Okay? So mentally, physically, spiritually, we're connected to it. Okay? So they have this contract which everyone signed as a baby unknowingly called the Onum Sanctum, right? So it's kind of weird in reverse. It says mu and nu. And that was something I was pretty much kind of close to. I didn't really hear nobody else say it. It was just me with it. So it kind of made me want to go in deeper with it. So there is a land called the land of Mu, or what people know as Lemuria. So, like, I haven't really looked into it like that. So I was thinking maybe we can together. Okay. So, crazy thing, this is my thesis. Okay, you have the Mu and Nu, which is the Onum Sanctum. The Mu and Nu is pretty much describing the brain and low-key the grid, left side and right side of the grid. So it's just like the grid of your body. You feel me? Down the line of symmetry. A, B, C, D denotes a higher energy that's creating that diamond energy within you. So knowing that there is a land called the land of Mu, but people call it Lemuria, I think I know where it is. But they pretty much show where it is. I'm gonna just say it's still there. Okay? And the reason I know this is the reason why California and whatever, China maybe, but California get all of these earthquakes and dealing with flooding. This is why California gets it, because Lemuria is a sunspot at 144 degrees east, 0 north, which puts you right there in the Pacific. I'm going to say it's being manipulated, or it's just still a city there. You feel me? Under the water. Because if you pay attention to these sunspots, it goes around the 360, or what you would call a circle, but it's still dealing with a cube. Okay? The circle just represents the light that's being formed within that circle. It's just like the ring of fire. When you're in the ring of fire, it speeds up the atom. So it changes the state of matter within that ring. Okay? So Lemuria is a place that everyone talks about. So let's just watch a little clip of Lemuria. Because I haven't even looked up if there's a land of Nu. I just know that's the right side of the grid, which they call the East. But let's look at Lemuria before we get into all of this. I don't know why But
Find big deals at Best Buy this Memorial Day.
we're gonna watch a video on Lemuria because that's
Indian
the
and
land
Pacific
of Mu.
Oceans. In 1864, the zoologist Philip Sclater first proposed the concept of a continent on which Lemuria was located in ancient times. Mythology suggests that all of Earth's landmass
I need to get on StreamYard and do that. I'm actually working on it.
which broke apart over time, leaving some segments submerged underwater, such as the supposed fate of Lemuria. However, these theories remain unconfirmed by science. The submerged Lemurian continent is also called the Niue continent. The name Lemuria is derived from the lemurs believed to have inhabited these regions. Meanwhile, the Indians had their own ancient term for their submerged continent, long before the 1864 theory, calling it Kumari Kanda. The Lemurians are believed to have been part of a highly developed extraterrestrial society. Their lives lasted more than a millennium, and their height was about 4 to 5 meters. They had 3 eyes, 2 in front and 1 behind, as well as 4.
Okay. A, B, C on the flip, but it's really A, B, C. Okay. E, F, G. I mean, I can show y'all what I mean by that. You have your A, your B, your C, your gamma, the notes. But dealing with the flip, you're also dealing with E, F, G, H. Now in physics, you will see that all these letters mean something. Okay, so 144 degrees east 0 north is represented by baseball, right? In California, the Los Angels is represented by the A. Okay, that's at 144. But if you peep what's at 144 degrees east 0 north, the Pacific is a sunspot where the sun shoots a CMEs. When it's hitting at Earth, it goes around on these different sacred degrees as it goes around Earth. So A is the 144, which is the land of Mu or Lemuria. They say it's not there, but it's a sunspot. So A is represented as that, but this has a meaning tying to this. Okay? And as it goes around the sunspots, it creates this light. So you could say 1, 2, 3, 4. Really 1, 2, 3, then 4, 5, 6.
However, they lack digestive and some other.
Then you have 7, 8, I, which is 9. Okay? It goes, the sunspot goes around and denotes a higher state, but it's dealing with time. We're gonna get into that though, on how it's really dealing with time, and that's the only reason.
Relying on
bringing
energy
this up.
from nature for their sustenance. The Lemurians were highly spiritual and possessed extraordinary supernatural powers, including telepathy, levitation, and clairvoyance. In this video, we will look for the traces of the ancestors of modern human civilization. We will delve into the theories of their history and examine the version of an alleged ancient war with the Atlanteans.
This is why I stopped shopping on Amazon, and you should too. Don't spend another dime on Amazon until you watch this first.
Watch this. I can show you how to get the sweetest deals online when you shop from major retailers like Amazon and Target. You can drop prices automatically. I can show you how, but I can't do it for you.
Legend has it that, like the story of Atlantis, Lemuria was engulfed by a colossal natural disaster and submerged under the Indian Ocean within 12,000.
Again, because nobody really be on my live, so I'm going to just speak like y'all in here. Okay, so again, 144 is represented as A, dealing with these sunspots. Okay? And as they go around, it's like 144, 72, 77, 48, 46, 222, whoop-de-whoop. All you have to do is pay attention to where these sunspots hit. Because the thing is, when it's X's and M's that's hitting now, it spreads out the radius. So you'll see more red inside the US than normal, or like more green or whatever color. You feel me? When they're smaller, you can kind of see where exactly it's hitting. So to see where exactly it was hitting, you would have to go to some older videos of the sunspots, of the sun flares hitting the ground, and how wide the radius was of light. Okay? Because all these sunken seas and stuff, those are sunspots, meaning they're still there generating energy, is what I'm trying to say. Okay? And as we go through this energy line or this timeline, a lot of things is going to start to be seen in the physical eye. Okay? Because there's more light being exposed to your DNA and to this planet and to other beings that deals with the climate of that certain type of light and energy and air. Because the air is changing when you're dealing with the atoms speeding up. It's changing your state of matter and changing the state of matter on this planet. Period. Okay? So just know, all these sunken lands that are in the seas, just like Atlantis and stuff like that, they're still there. Trust me. Because they're generating this energy. Okay? And it picks up off these sunspots. Okay? And it helps denote it. That's how it helps it rise it back up. It's going to rise those lands back up too. If anything, it's either us still there or military that infiltrated it, and they're manipulating it like Dr. Evil and Austin Powers. Because if you look at all of Dr. Powers' layers in the movie, they all dealt with deltas. And if you remember what I told y'all what delta mean, if y'all remember what I told you what delta means denoting energy. Okay? So just like the Bermuda Triangle has how it has this little cycle, it has like a 6-9 cycle, and also the air does too, because so above, so below is going to deal with the same thing, dealing with the waters. Doesn't matter what state of matter is in, it's dealing with the same type of cycle. That's why the 369 is represented in this. The only reason I'm bringing this up because this deals with time and consciousness. Okay? So let's get back to the Lemuria video, and then we're going to get back to the Onum Sanctum, dealing with the moon and the grid, stuff like that. I'm already kind of telling you in a certain way without really saying too much, because a lot of videos get blocked when I do say too much. Okay, so just know that Saturn moon matrix is manipulating the solar power, right? It's a a simulator. But I feel like Nibiru has something to do with this shit too. Because when Nibiru comes around and comes for 3,600 years, but that's representing what's going on right now, okay? As the DNA picks up on the light, it reflects its memory. And dealing with certain beings that have the DNA of this is exposing this shit. Really, this is coming through everybody. Everyone has carbon in their skin, period. I mean, there's certain ones with even more carbon, but everyone has carbon in their skin. But at the end of the day, bro, we are the revelation revealing everything that's going on through memory, okay? This is why I started off with that video dealing with the brain, because it's just like the Matrix, bro. It's just like if you were plugged up. If you ever seen that Netflix series called 1899, that was representing the 6th dimension, okay? because that was dealing with the timeline on the physical state, okay? And as that happens on the physical state, you'll start to see more portals and more of the grid start to break down so you can see it with your eye, for real, for real. That's what happens during the six. But then there's manipulation going on when they're trying to put a hypnosis on people, which is called like the zombie shit, okay? But yeah, as the sun is being exposed to our DNA, you have your good, you have your positive variance, your neutral variance, and your negative variance. Okay, the Knight Templar secret described the neutral variance and the negative variance, meaning nothing changed or they either turn into cannibal sodomites. Okay, that's why I say you need to be fasting, because it's going to come to the point where you're just harnessing energy and that creates food. Okay, I'm only saying that because I've seen it for myself. And the only thing that's going to help you get back to that state is eating what your body is feeding for. Okay? It's either you have parasites feeding for other food, which at the end of the day don't really fill you up. It just put the illusion that something's there helping you. But you're always feeding for minerals. And once you get enough get your minerals and stuff back into your body, you'll stop really being as hungry, because now those cells are reproducing the way they're supposed to. It's a whole link dealing with your cells. And when you connect A through Z back together, it creates a higher energy within you. The energy that's always been there, just trying to move. You feel me? But the thing is, it's different in this state of matter because the ozone layer is depleting. So you're being exposed to more UV. A UV is a delta. Ultraviolet radiation is a delta. It denotes an energy. Okay? That's why I said, look at all the meanings of delta. So when I get to talking about the triangle, or even why I have the triangle, because I have my own meaning to it. And I think it deals with truth. I know the pyramid up, pyramid down with the X, the Makerba, all of that shit's been manipulated for darkness, but it dealt with a planetary energy, okay? So, dealing with above and below. So if you can peep your own science of how it connects to you, you can peep what the enemy is doing to you. That's why I say whatever I'm saying matches truth, because at the end of the day, I'm peeping what the enemy is doing to a lot of people. The thing is, it's your energy though, okay? You control this reality. If you were plugged up, let's say if you were plugged up somewhere. If you were plugged up, you could control your dream. Or at least that's how you would think if you were in the game. It's either you're going to be scared, or you're just going to figure out how to get the fuck out of here. Because at this point, it's not a conspiracy, okay? It's not a fucking conspiracy. You're not about to make me look crazy, and I'm not about to feel like I'm crazy, okay? And at the same time, sometimes you have to play the game. Not completely play the game, but operate as you know the game. Operate as a master. I'm not going to say 33, but if it was a 33, the 33, I feel like in my eyes understands the 6 and the 9. Okay? Which is the cycle, above and below. So if you understand the cycle, now you're understanding your DNA. Now you're seeing that everything around you is a reflection of you, down to the symbols and everything you try to leave behind. It's all symbolism of light. So connecting this chain A through Z, dealing with the alpha, beta system, the brain system, dealing with inputs and outputs, because outside of you connects with your body too, just like they have to manipulate nature, just like with the sun, with the moon. Because what does the moon frequency deal with? It deals with the waters and the lands. So if you were to look at your body as a mirror to nature, which it really is, because it operates the same way your body does, and it creates all these resources and minerals and stuff like that naturally, which also creates natural energy within you. Okay, so when you need to get back to your cycle, you pretty much get all the mechanics back. Okay, so the out the output of you though, the body and the waters deal with the moon. So the water in your body and will deal with the manipulation of the moon too. So what's going to get your body and your waters back to a point under this sun and dealing with these frequencies is fasting, because that's going to help you physically, which going to help you think more better mentally. But the mental part is you have to use the imagination. Imagination can clear your X gene out. You feel me? Because there's a lot of things that's attached to your X gene. Men and females deals with it the same way, but mentally, the only thing that releases traumas and attachments is your imagination. If you can imagine it being gone, then the brain can pick it up as it's gone. It's just like how the sensei said, close your eyes and let it flow down the river. That's really what it was trying to get you to. But you can imagine it in any type of way. The only thing is when it comes back around and you have an attachment to it or get attached to it just from different emotions dealing with your chakra system, like love, hate, all of that, you feel me? It could get reattached. And if you don't peep it, now it's like you're back in a loop. You feel me? But let's get back to this video, because I went left.
Years ago. The few remaining Lemurians scattered across the earth, laying the foundations of today's human civilization. Theory suggests that the spiritual advanced Lemurians gradually became more primitive over time, eventually becoming the ancestors of modern humans. At first, they were asexual and reproduced by cloning, but over time, they developed human organs and separated into male and female sexes. Some theories suggest that the Lemurians and the Atlanteans existed at the same time, albeit in different locations. Others claim that the Lemurians are descendants of the Atlanteans, and their society originated from the Atlanteans who survived the flood. Regardless of the truth, one aspect remains constant in the ancient myths. Unlike the Atlanteans, the Lemurians possessed no material wealth and demonstrated no material prosperity. They were primarily focused on spirituality and the divine. An interesting theory suggests that the Lemurians may even have predated the Atlanteans, supporting the notion that spirit came before matter. American scientist Ellis Silver proposes the idea that various advanced extraterrestrial species seeded humanity on Earth about 200,000 years ago. This hypothesis is gaining popularity in esoteric circles, with many rejecting Darwin's theory of human origins. In 1870, biologist Ernst Haeckel also suggested that Lemuria might be the cradle of mankind. The well-known occultist and medium Helena Blavatsky shared the view in her 1888 book, The Secret Doctrine, in which Lemuria and the Lemurians were presented as the genesis of the human race. As already mentioned, the Lemurians were considered a race with clairvoyant powers, and according to esoteric enthusiasts, they foresaw the submergence of their own land. This foresight has enabled them to prepare for the coming flood and preserve precious relics of their existence and culture. It is said that among these protected treasures, the most valuable are ancient manuscripts dating from the Lemurian era, which to this day remain somewhere well hidden from us humans. The legend continues in that, although expected, the catastrophe happened earlier than expected. expected. As a result, most of the population of Lemuria perished under the waters of the Indian Ocean. Only a few thousand Lemurians managed to survive. The continent's sudden disappearance resembles the dramatic and mysterious fate of Atlantis. Edgar Cayce, one of the most famous clairvoyants in history, also mentioned the Lemurians in his visions. According to his insights, unlike the Atlanteans who supposedly inhabited the earth to redeem their karmic debt, the Lemurians bore no such responsibility. Their goal was to raise their spirits and then learn to control and manage their physical bodies.
What if I told you you can bring phone to a personal ATM and potentially use it for
Because when Mu and Nu comes
I'm
together,
not talking about affiliate marketing, not
The intrigue surrounding Lemuria and the ancient Lemurians intensified further in 2013 when geologists discovered sunken granite fragments in the ocean south of India, extended to Madagascar, which coincided with the occult belief that Lemuria once existed in that region. Among the additional evidence is the discovery of remarkable megalithic structures, such as the Moai
look,
on
we had the
Easter Island,
munchies.
and similar ones on several Pacific islands where the Lemurians are believed to have resided. Researchers suggest that these structures were built by the Lemurians themselves. Already in the 15th century, a
Look, I'd
group
be
known
bored
as
too,
Tamil
bro.
nationalists
That's why
used
I'm
the
doing
term
this.
Kamari Kanda. It at first appears in the Kanda Puranam, the Tamil edition of the Skanda Puranam, a sacred Hindu text. It refers to an ancient, now lost continent called the birthplace of civilization. The narrative also spread to India, where the country once accepted the legend as a historical fact. It describes a land that was long ago swallowed by water called the Kamari Kanda, which is now called Lemuria. According to folklore, Lemuria and Kamari Kanda are one and the same, a legendary lost continent of the ancient Tamil civilization located in the Indian Ocean. The narrative speaks of its rulers ruling the
Alright, so now they're talking about the Indian Ocean. This spot they're talking about also is another sunspot, which is at the 72, which is really where the pole is really shifting to, okay? Because what is 72 as a brainwave? As a brainwave is the gamma state. So that gamma state is low key, the pole is shifting there. Reason why they're having the war around that area, another reason, okay? This is a sunspot been talking about. I had the sunspots written down. It's on one of my past videos. It's a little choppy when I was using X recorder. But I have all the sunspots on that video. I might try to pull it up. But this new spot they talking about in India, that's a sunspot, right? And I'm only saying this because that's dealing with this time and how it's in the loop. It has to go around and hit these different sunspots in the ground, okay?
entire Indian
Or in the
subcontinent,
waters.
suggesting that the Tamil civilization is among the oldest. When Kamari Kanda disappeared beneath the waves, its inhabitants scattered and created different civilizations, turning the ancient continent into the lost birthplace of civilization. There's no definite evidence for the existence of Lemuria or Kamari Kanda. However, researchers from India's National Institute of Oceanography
On a mirror flip, 72. Oh, no, I'm tripping. No, I'm not tripping. Yeah, 144 divided by 70, but divided by 2 is 72. So on the mirror flip, Lemuria and what did it say? Lemuria and Kamari Condom. It mirrors each other type shit. So if it mirrors each other, that's dealing with a split, a line of symmetry. Going back to the Greenwich line, so would Kumaru Condom be new?
Researchers from India's National Institute of Oceanography have found that about 14,500 years ago, the sea level.
Alright, I thought I was gonna hear something else. But this video is getting too long without me saying the stuff yet. So let's get back to it. The Onum Sanctum, right? Everybody's birth certificate, you put your soul on the birth certificate as a baby. And you pretty much sign this contract to become a citizen of a corporation called the United States of America. Okay? They're a corporation called the United States, but they're in America, right? They don't really own no type of land. Once you're born, you're pretty much got $100 million that you don't know about. But they give you all your bank codes, the bank numbers and routing to you through birth certificate, social security number, driver's license number, all these numbers ties to a bank. But you can't tie into claiming your land. You can't tie into claiming your own money, pretty much, till you take steps of getting your masters back. And when I say getting your masters back, an easy way to understand what I'm saying about that is the music industry. If you look at different rappers in the music industry and how their name is tied to pretty much them selling their soul and whoop-de-whoop. Because you know this ties to the church too. Pretty much Christianity or the Catholic Church, but all of that ties back to Christianity. Even these different races of name like African, that's a Sierra Leone corporation in Africa. You feel me? Like, all this shit is business. So when you want to look at your name, you have to literally look at it as business. It's kind of like what Donald Trump was trying to say, because you're an entity as a name. But this entity, pretty much, you put your DNA footprint on it as a baby and pretty much got signed over to them, okay? Your name is the trust in the state to this whole United States, okay? You're not getting no fucking reparations. You have to prepare yourself and take back what's yours, because they're all breaking down because people are starting to claim their sovereignty and claim so you can get your human rights back, okay? So I think this video is going to be a little longer than expected, but we're going to talk about the history first, and then we're going to get back into it some more, okay? So I'm on Wiki right now. If you got a computer or another phone, something you can look up, I typed in Onum Sanctum, okay? So we got Onum Sanctum. So now I'm gonna just let bruh read out some shit, you feel me? Yeah.
Unum Sanctum A is a papal bull that was issued by Pope Boniface VIII on the 18th of November 1302. It laid down dogmatic propositions on the unity of the Catholic Church, the necessity of belonging to it for eternal salvation, the position of the Pope as supreme head of the Church, and the duty thence arising of submission to the Pope in order to belong to the Church and thus to attain salvation. The Pope further emphasized the higher position of the spiritual in comparison with the secular order. The historian Brian Tierney calls it probably the most famous document on church and state in medieval Europe. 1. The original document is lost, but a version of the text can be found in the registers of Boniface VIII in the Vatican archives. 2. The bull was the definitive statement of the late medieval theory of hierarchy, which argued for the temporal as well as spiritual supremacy of the Pope. 3.
Alright, there's a video with this dude, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people seen it, or maybe a clip from it. I'm going to find this real quick so we can sum up a lot of things more quicker, because he actually made a great video on it, if I can find it. There you go. Santos Banaki. I don't know if I said his name right. But we're not going to play this hour video,
Show you some proof in this.
but he explained it great. I watched this maybe like
A real.
2020.
What I'm going to talk about tonight is the dark and very, very, very dark history
Let me turn it up
of
some more.
the system that we live in. We live in a system, and there are people who are very powerful in this world who actually have think tanks that get together regularly on a regular basis, and they basically manufacture this society that we live in. It's a system, and this, what we live in.
I bumped my computer and it failed.
You see, wars,
Still works though.
famines, corruption. That's basically the end result of these think tanks that get together and produce this society that we live in. All right, so we look around us and we know that there's something wrong. Because your neighbour next door is a nice person, your family are nice, people you work with are nice. People want to have a nice society where we can live in peace and just live and be free of wars. So you think, well, where's it coming from? Where is this the constant tribulation that we have to go through? Now, think 500 years back. If you think we haven't got it so bad these days, 500 years ago, the Catholic Church, this is a depiction of some of the chambers of torture in the Inquisition. Now, you guys could easily be classed heretics and you could have been led to the Inquisition. So, just think back to those days, the Inquisition and the Crusades and all the Dark Ages, and how much our brothers suffered, mankind suffered. And we see now that we know things are really gone pear-shaped. What's the origin of it? Well, I'm going to expose it.
Yep.
Expose it with a little bit of history.
Yep. Gonna expose the fuck
The
out of
Catholic
it.
Church, the Roman cult, has been very, very, very busy
Just work with me.
in the last couple of thousand years. Starting with the Julian dynasty, then the Flavian dynasty, then the Antons, the Antonys. We had the empire. Rome was a republic, became an empire. Just like that, overnight. They killed Julius Caesar, bang, Augustus. It's an empire. This empire is our enemy, as you will see, because it has morphed as it's gone through the ages.
And who is tied to that? The United States. We're all citizens, pretty much employees to a business, okay? Which kind of goes back to Kanye remarks when he said slavery is a choice. That's what he meant, okay? Because we don't have to work for land that you already have. You don't have to work for money that you already have. You can pretty much print your own money, but that goes into another story. A lot of the Moors teach about that.
With the backing of the Roman cult and a very, very dark priesthood, who through their sorcery and evil and their papal bulls, they seal those papal bulls, they put a spell on them, they put them in their vaults, and what is written on those papal bulls.
Okay, I'm sorry. But the papal bull, it's spelled Papa Bull. the paper bull he's talking about is Papa Bull if you try to spell it out. That's tying back to time. And we're going to go back to that definition because, you know, on this page, I be talking about the time and the loops. And pretty much, really, it was kind of like my awakening. And I was trying to, like, show people what was going on. But kind of, like, pretty much help you see what I'm seeing. It didn't really work out too well like that. But pretty much that's why I was doing it, because I was trying to record the stuff that I was already looking at one point and pretty much reveal what I was already seeing, because a lot of times I was just talking to myself, you feel me? And I wouldn't record what I was talking about, but a lot of the shit that I was talking about to myself ended up being true. So me seeing that shit was true, it kind of threw me off. But I started realizing what was going on. It was just an awakening of bullshit. So I'm tired of this bullshit. I wanted y'all to see what this truly ties to, because what happened was I started with this loop, okay? And from 2017, I got hit by a beam, right? But when I got hit by that beam, I was able to have x-ray vision for about 9 seconds. And me thinking someone was about to come through the door, that's when it activated. Ended up being my homie's girlfriend. And she was putting a key through the door, and I saw the key inside the door turn. You feel me? And I saw her on the other side. And the crazy thing is, everything was pitch black dark inside the apartment I was in, because I turned the blinds off. There was no TV. There was nothing. You feel me? And yeah, so since then, I always wanted to figure out what happened, okay? So 3 years later, I had an experience where I left my body, okay? But I don't know if I died or anything, but I remember a couple of months, that April around this time, I was letting go of a lot of things because I was sad. I was really depressed, to a point I was crying like literally almost every day. If it wasn't every day, it was almost every day. And I didn't give a fuck. My friends came around, just bring bottles, all types of shit just to get me out that mood. I wasn't asking for it, but it ended up happening that way. You feel me? So I remember around this time, I started letting go of a lot of stuff, and I said, I'm not going to cry anymore. It's like 2020, 2021. And a couple of months later, kind of before a Lionsgate portal opened up, around the little dates I be always talking about, July 27th, October 27th, January 27th, and April 27th. Those are the 4 phases of the year that it denotes into a higher energy. I began my fast during that April, May. So, cause I was like, I couldn't really eat anything no more. And the only thing that really tastes good was fruit. And I was like, they ate fruit in heaven. I don't know why I was thinking that, but that's what I was saying. And I just started eating fruit. Then I had an out-of-body experiences to where it felt like I went to a golden crystal palace type thing. And in my eyes, I felt like I met Anu or something. Either that or my higher self. But I remember it was like I went somewhere, kind of like the 5th gate in Enoch, or the 5th heaven, when pretty much he got checked by the Great Gorai, and he was telling them what he believed, and he's not serving something that's not of him type shit. And then from there he went past the 6 until the next gate, 7, 8, 9, and higher and higher and higher. I believed every time he went to sleep, really probably in that experience he seen a lot. But I feel like every time he went to sleep, he went higher and higher and higher, dealing with another side. Because when you're here, you're unlocking them keys, but there are still other places. Or you can, it's weird. It's like really like some quantum shit going on. You feel me? So pretty much it seemed like I would leave and come back. Kind of still sounds like some UFO alien type shit, but still is like I would leave and come back. And it's like certain masters and shit like that I would meet and I learn. And then it's like I learn for me. It's like I could be asleep and I'm learning when I go to sleep. So sometimes when I'm waking up out of my sleep, sometimes I could be talking out loud. Be like, oh, so that's what that means. Whoop-de-whoop. And it's supposed to help me hear type shit. So knowing that is a righteous thing going on with me. And I know it's the same thing going with other people. It's just when you ask yourself the things you want to know, you're going to know. It's just to help it is the memory, because the memory is the reincarnation of the things you're supposed to do here. Okay? So you could tap into your memory or tapping into your DNA, because your DNA has the memory of all the times, the timelines that happen through these loops and cycles. Okay? That's what the DNA has. The memory from all the timelines. Okay? I'm gonna say timeline because that's the way they gave it to us, but it pretty much makes it seem like you've been here before because you really have. Okay? So there's nothing that you don't know. There's nothing that you can't do. I need y'all to understand that. There's nothing that you don't know, and there's nothing that you can't do. You can do everything, literally. The physical state is going back to that, but the conscious mentally has to match that energy. That's why it's good to fast through these cycles and through these phases, I say, because the only way I peep this as being phases, or these gates I be talking about sound crazy as hell, is because I was fasting through the cycle. But anyone can fast through the cycle and still don't do what they think they was gonna do. That's when it's an A it's an A and B thing. And when A and B comes together, now you have C. But that C stands for gamma. And that gamma wave is the 72, which comes back to 9. Okay? So this A and B is tied to some things physically. Okay? Some earthbound shit. I don't want y'all to have to come back here again talking about your living experience. Either way is going to be training for your conscious, but I don't want you to have to come back here again. Reason why this video is just going to be long, and you're going to have to go through it if you ever want to see what I was talking about. Because this A and B is tied to the unum sanctum. It actually is the unum sanctum. Instead of calling it the unum sanctum, we're going to call it the brain sanctum. Because that's what it is. It's a brain sanctum. It's a spell. It's a soul contract, nigga. This is the only way you're being in this fucking simulation program, so to say. It's the only way. Because what happened was I low-key started tapping in once I didn't have any contracts with them. Okay? That's how I know it's deeper. I know it's deeper because of that. I didn't have any type of contracts with them other than a state ID. Okay? When that state ID expired, that shit happened. Okay? So the thing is, I'm thankful for I was in the right consciousness and the right way of thinking, because a lot of these things happen to people and they might be in fear when it happens just because they don't have knowledge of self. So it could be a fearful thing which closes the gate. The frequency is a key to the gate. And you have these keys to all these different stargates within you. Just like your DNA is represented above and below. And you're the X between the UV and the ground. You control this whole simulation. But I'm gonna need you to claim your sovereignty. This is really why the government, so-called government, is breaking down anyway. But then you have their other family members, okay? They're tied corporations that are tied to each other, dealing with these other countries, okay? Dealing with these other countries, bro. They're all family. So when you come to China and all of them, whoop-de-whoop, they're trying to get our shit, okay? And you know how they're gonna do it? They're gonna come through as nationals. When I said, when 2070 hertz hit on the timeline. Let me show you, because this timeline too accurate. And see, this is 2019. When that 144 hit, that's dealing with a hertz that's above your chakras. So now you're dealing with a higher state of you. If you were tapping into that around that time, then that's what the fuck happened. And since then, you've been revealing this whole timeline as it goes around the 360. This hertz is the year, okay? The hertz is a measurement of time, but it's also represented as a year because a year is a measurement of time, okay? So when it came to this point right here, because we was in 2023, 2024, when it came to this point, that's when the Mandela effect happened, around this time. It's too accurate. So look, now we're like right, we're right here and here, okay? So 2250 is dealing with the trumpet still. So when we get to 2400 years around here, that's going to be election time, okay? And the ending of that, this is going to be 2025. But this, if you look at it as a time year, maybe like AD or something, because, you know, AD is just a parallel. So that deals with time, okay? We're dealing with parallels. When you're dealing with BC and AD, it's a whole simulated thing, bro. This is why it's all plotted and planned already. That's why when you get into some more clone shit, it's going to be like we're in the year 3000. The whole time is going to be like 2027. Yeah, it's going to be like 2027 going to 2028. And that's like the war with the clones. As you already see, they releasing clones and talking about stuff right here. This is dealing with the Nibiru simulator. You feel me? And is giving you 3,600 years of memory. And then the 13, Orion, represents a new timeline, dealing with the 4,000, the 7,000. It's like a mirror flip. Okay, so we're quantumly traveling like a time machine, low key. It's a global consciousness project at the end of the day. But at the end of the day, it still ties to the unum sanctum. And the unum sanctum is the brain sanctum. If you go to the beginning of this video, Shorty explaining how how this realm is pretty much like a brain. You feel me? We on the left side, we need to get to the right side. And if you look in the middle where the two circles come together like a link, there's like a portal open. It's like a mirror.
Subject of Priska.
All these videos is like an hour long, bro. But yeah, okay. So you have something called a straw man, right? It's pretty much the all caps name. In law, your name in all caps, like on a birth certificate, that's pretty much saying you're an entity. But when that entity has person rights, when it's in all caps, person rights is not human rights. So when everyone's tripping about, oh, I'm not getting my rights and stuff, it's because you're not operating in law. If anything, you're operating into the setup that they put us in. Okay, is everyone pretty much went through this shit unknowingly, most likely. Okay, it even ties to the birth certificate that gets sent through the church back to the government. It's deep because Zeus is Jesus and Zeus was Satan. Pretty much they're the same person. One is a higher self, one is a lower self. Okay, representing the light and darkness of the Yahweh. Okay, so dealing with you, it kind of represents you too. But at the same time, this unum sanctum that people are signed with the straw man, you have to correct your straw man, pretty much take back power over it. Okay? When your name is written how you usually spell it, say your name is John, you spell it with a capital J-O-H-N. Now, in law, say John is on your birth certificate. Now it's in all caps. That means that someone pretty much has power over it because they pretty much think you're dead. Being a African American or black, status is black. Black means you're already dead, period. Okay? So when they collect the insurance off a dead entity who hasn't claimed themselves as living, as a living human person, now they're picking up the estate and the trust fund that's tied to that business account, which is your name. It's just like any business account or any business. Okay? It's just like you could put your name as the business and you also control that entity. It's the same thing. So to look at it, to really understand what's going on, you have to look at it as music industry, and you have to look at it as a music industry, and you have to look at it as business, because that's all it is business. So the more you, say if you open up your own business, the more you start peeping stuff about that, you can start peeping it with your own name. But the unum sanctum is tied to the Romans. So that goes back to UK and the Vatican and the Pope. Because the Pope has power over it. pretty much. So when the U.S. has debt, it's not going to be no money. The debt is the people who control the money of the U.S. government, which is us. They're operating without money. Like, niggas is born with $100 million as soon as you're born. But once you sign it away, you sign it to them. Now they're giving you your own money to pretty much play with and taxing you on your own shit, on your own land. So now you're playing a game to where you think you have to work for certain things. And the only reason you feel like that is because you don't know yourself. You don't know nothing about you. You don't know nothing about your family. Shit like that. You don't know nothing about law. You're just going along with shit that you think is fine because everyone else around you is. You feel me? It's just like you not about to follow some person off a bridge, but a lot of people is jumping off the bridge unknowingly being followers and not leaders. Everyone's a leader, but there's a thing. We all have to take steps of claiming our sovereignty because at the end of the day, people are just following people who walk off a bridge. Then you find yourself coming right back here, and now you're like, oh, seems like I've been here before. You having deja vu memories of everything like you've been here before. Because you have. It's a fucking simulator, bruh. I can't really make it up because there's nothing really to make up. They put it out for you even if you read it. Like, can never be emotional even though it kind of got me pissed off at one point. But now, I just know when you're aware of things, it changes the future quantumly. Even as more people reveal the truth, knowing that this is a computer simulation type thing, as people reveal more truth, it fucks up their algorithms. It's just like if they wanted to have everyone in fear, but people was already aware, then that's an energy that defeats the fearness. Because fear is supposed to be awareness. It's not supposed to be an emotion. It's just an energy. But fear blocks awarenesses, which is intuition. So if everyone is aware, then they will have their own insight of what's to happen next or what they need to do next. Because what is in you, everything that you need to know, is just tapping into that memory. You have to repair yourself and heal. Physically, mentally, spiritually. Okay? Because this unum, this moon sanctum is really real. So I'm just going to read this out some more. I already put my thesis. I didn't have everything that was on my phone, but I'm using my phone to go live. So
The bull was promulgated during an ongoing dispute between Boniface VIII and King Philip IV of France, Philip the Fair. For Philip had levied taxes on the French clergy of half their annual income. On the 5th of February 1296, Boniface responded with the papal bull Clarissus Laicos that forbade clerics, without authority from the Holy See, to pay taxes to temporal rulers, and threatened excommunication on rulers who demanded such payments. 5. King Edward I of England defended his own taxing powers by putting defiant clergy under outlawry, a Roman law concept withdrawing their protection under the English common law. 6. And confiscated the temporal properties of bishops who refused his levies. As Edward was demanding an amount well above the tenth offered by the clergy, Archbishop of Canterbury Robert Winchelsea left it to every individual clergyman to pay as he saw fit. 7. In August 1296, King Philip imposed an embargo forbidding export of horses, arms, gold, and silver, effectively keeping the French clergy from sending taxes to Rome and blocking the main source of papal revenue. Philip also banished from France papal agents raising funds for a new crusade. In September 1296, the Pope sent a protest to Philip-headed Ineffabilis Amor that declared that he would rather suffer death than surrender any of the rightful prerogatives of the Church. While threatening a papal alliance with England and Germany, the Pope soothingly explained that his claims were not intended against the customary feudal dues, and that reasonable taxation of church revenue would be permitted. To assist their king against the Anglo-Flemish alliance, the French bishops asked permission to make contributions for the defense of the kingdom. In February 1297, Boniface issued Romana Mater Ecclesia, declaring that when the clergy consented to make payments and delay could cause grave danger, papal permission could be dispensed. 8. And ratified the French payments in the encyclical Coram Illo Fate Mer. While insisting that church consent was required for subsidies to the state, he recognized that the clergy in each country must evaluate such claims. 8. In July 1297, Boniface, further beset by an uprising in Rome by the Colonna family, 9. Again moderated his assertions in Clarissus Laicos. The bull et sit state allowed lay authorities to declare emergencies to tax clerical property. 10. The Jubilee year of 1300 filled Rome with fervent masses of pilgrims who supplied the lack of French gold in the treasury. The following year, Philip's ministers overstepped their bounds. In the Albigensian Crusade, the suppression of the Cathar heresy had brought much of Languedoc under French royal control, but in the farthest south, heretics still survived, and Bernard Sayset, Bishop of Pamiers and Foy, was recalcitrant and insolent with King Philip's ministry decided to make an example of the bishop, who was brought before the royal court on the 24th of October 1301. The chancellor, Pierre Flot, charged him with high treason, and put the bishop in the keeping of his metropolitan, the Archbishop of Narbonne. Before Sayset could be tried, the royal ministry needed the Pope to strip the bishop of his office and protections, a canonical degradation. Instead, in December 1301, Boniface ordered the bishop to Rome to justify himself before his pope rather than his king. In the bull Ausculta Fili, give ear, my son, he scolded Philip, let no one persuade you that you have no superior or that you are not subject to the head of the ecclesiastical hierarchy, for he is a fool who so thinks. At the same time, Boniface sent out the general bull Salvator Mundi strongly reiterating Clarissus Laicos. With his customary tactlessness, Boniface then summoned the French bishops to Rome to reform their national church matters. Philip forbade Sayset or any bishop to attend, and organized a counter-assembly of his own in Paris in April 1302. Nobles, burgesses and clergy met to denounce the Pope and pass around a crude forgery, Deum Time, Fear God, in which Boniface supposedly claimed feudal suzerainty over France, an unheard-of assertion. Boniface denied the document and its claims, but reminded Philip that previous popes had deposed 3 French kings. This was the atmosphere in which Unam Sanctum was promulgated weeks later. Reading of the 2 Swords, the spiritual and temporal powers, one of Philip's ministers is alleged to have remarked, my master's sword is steel, the Pope's is made of words. As Matthew Edward Harris writes, the overall impression gained is that the papacy was described in increasingly exalted terms as the 13th century progressed, although this development was neither disjunctive nor uniform, and was often in response to conflict, such as against Frederick II and Philip the Fair. 11. Content edit. Most significantly, the bull proclaimed the doctrine extra ecclesiam nullis salus, outside of the church, there is no salvation. The phrase is first found in Cyprian of Carthage d. 258 discussing the validity of baptisms by heretical clergy. Gregory of Nazianzus also held that view but, with his father as an example, recognized men whose devout conduct anticipates their faith, By the charity of their life they were united to Christ, even before explicitly professing Christianity. 12. Subsequent commentators such as Augustine of Hippo, Jerome, and Bede cited the doctrine in an ecclesiastical context. Boniface interpreted it as a form of the concept of plenitudo potestatis, plenitude of power, that those who resist the Roman pontiff resist God's ordination. 13. In the 13th century, the canonists used the term plenitudo potestatis to characterize the power of the Pope within the Church or, more rarely, his prerogative in the secular sphere. 14. The bull declares that the Church must be united and the Pope was its sole and absolute head. Therefore, of the one and only Church there is one body and one head, not two heads like a monster. 15. The bull also stated, "We are informed by the texts of the Gospels that in this Church and in its power are two swords, namely, the spiritual and the temporal." 15. The metaphor refers to the swords yielded by the apostles upon Christ's arrest, Luke 22:38, Matthew 26:52. 2. Early theologians believed that if there are two swords, one must be subordinate to the other, rungs in a spiritual hierarchical ladder. The spiritual judges the secular on account of its greatness and sublimity. 2. And the higher spiritual power judges the lower spiritual power, etc. 13. Thus, the bull concluded, the temporal authorities must submit to the spiritual authorities, not merely on matters concerning doctrine and morality, for with truth as our witness, it belongs to spiritual power to establish the terrestrial power and to pass judgment if it has not been good. The bull ended, furthermore, we declare, we proclaim, we define that it is absolutely necessary for salvation that every human creature be subject to the Roman pontiff. 15. The bull reiterated the declarations of Pope St. Gregory VII, 16, as well as the writings of Bernard of Clairvaux, Hugh of St. Victor, and Thomas Aquinas. 2. The bull also contained passages from the letters of Pope Innocent III, who mainly reasserted the spiritual power and the plenitudo potestatis of the papacy. 16. A voice heavily noticed in the bull is Giles of Rome, who some hold might have been its actual writer. 17. Giles, in on ecclesiastical power, voiced the supremacy of the Roman pontiff over the material world. He argued that since the body is governed by the soul, and the soul is governed by the spiritual ruler, the Roman pontiff is the governor of both soul and body. According to the Catholic Encyclopedia, on the margin of the text of the record, the last sentence is noted as its real definition, Declaratio quod sub es Romano Pontificie omni humani creaturi de necessitate salutis. A declaration that it is necessary for salvation that every human creature be subject to the Roman pontiff. 2. Thus this phrase, like some in canonical scripture, may have moved from an original position as a marginal gloss to an integral part of the text as it has been accepted. Some believe that this is the only intended dogmatic definition in the bull because the rest is based on differing papal claims of the 13th century. 13. Eamon Duffy finds most of the claims in the encyclical to be similar to those made by every pope since Gregory VII. However, what made his claim notorious was that Boniface insisted that the pope wielded both the spiritual and secular sword, the culminating blow in a propaganda war against the French crown. 18. Boniface's reputation for overweening papal claims made it difficult to accept such an extreme declaration. His assertion over the temporal was seen as hollow and misguided, and it is said that the document was not seen as authoritative because the body of the faithful did not accept it. 13. 16. Philip had the Dominican John of Paris issue a refutation. Boniface reacted by excommunicating Philip, who then called an assembly which made 29 accusations against the Pope, including infidelity, heresy, simony, gross and unnatural immorality, idolatry, magic, loss of the Holy Land and the death of Pope Celestine v. 5 archbishops and 21 bishops sided with the king. Boniface could respond only by denouncing the charges, but it was already too late for him. On the 7th of September 1303, the king's advisor, Guillaume de Nogaret, led a band of 2,000 mercenaries on horse and foot who joined locals in an attack on the palaces of the Pope and his nephew at the papal residence at Annonay, which was later referred to as the Outrage of Annonay. The Pope's attendant and his beloved nephew Francesco all soon fled. Only the Spaniard Pedro Rodriguez, Cardinal of Santa Sabina, remained at his side to the end. The palace was plundered, and Boniface escaped murder only upon Nogaretti's explicit order. Boniface was subjected to harassment and held prisoner for 3 days without food or drink. Eventually, the townsfolk expelled the marauders. According to a late and unverified tradition, the locals were rallied and led by Cardinal Luca Fieschi. 19. Boniface pardoned those who were captured and was escorted back to Rome on the 13th of September 1303. 20. Boniface was shaken by the incident. He developed a violent fever and died on the 11th of October 1303. In a distant mirror, the calamitous 14th century, Barbara W. Topman stated that his close advisors would later maintain that he had died of a profound chagrin. Boniface's successor, Pope Benedict XI, reigned for only 9 months. He removed himself and the Roman Curia from the violence of Rome as soon as the Easter celebrations of 1304 were completed. However, on the 7th of June 1304, from Perugia, he excommunicated Guillaume de Nogaret, Reynald de Supino, his son Robert, Thomas de Morello, Peter of Genazzano, his son Stephen, Adolf and Nicholas, the sons of a certain Matteo, Geoffrey Bussy, Orlando and Pietro de Luperi of Annonay, Sciarra Colonna, John the son of Landulf, Godofridus the son of John de Secano, Maximus de Trebes, and other leaders of the factions who had attacked Boniface. 22. He died on the 7th of July 1304. The conclave to pick his successor, 23, was in deadlock for 11 months before deciding, under the intimidation of King Charles II of Naples, on Archbishop Bertrand de Got of Bordeaux, who took the name Pope Clement V. 24. To please Philip IV of France, Clement moved his residence to Avignon. From then until around 1378, the church fell under the domination of the French monarchy. Philip was said to have held a vendetta against the Holy See until his death. 16. It was not only the French monarchy and clergy who disapproved of Boniface and his assertions. Writers throughout Europe attacked the bull and Boniface's bold claims for the power of the papacy over the temporal, most notably the Florentine poet Dante Alighieri, who expressed his need for another strong Holy Roman Emperor. Dante's treatise De Monarchia attempted to refute the Pope's claim that the spiritual sword had power over the temporal sword. 25. Dante pointed out that the Pope and Roman Emperor were both equally human, and thus peers. The two equal swords were given power by God to rule over their respective domains.
This is just a research video, by the way. Alright. So, it's a prefix meaning not, freely used as an English formative, giving a negative or opposite force. Giving a negative or opposite force an objective in their derivative adverbs. Remember, derivatives deal with derivatives and differentials deals with the word delta, which deals with the one of the seals, which is Star David. But anyways, derivatives and adverbs and nouns, unfair, unfairly, whoop-de-boop, and less freely used in a certain other nouns. It also stands for United Nations. Okay, so see, when you change the value up, you gotta look at what they were pronouncing when they said it. So you have which is UN, then unam, unum. The A is it's not a AM, it's a even though AM deals with time too. But the is the essence of a supreme absolute consciousness, Atman, Brahman, or the cosmic world. In Indic traditions, serve as a sonic representation of the divine, a standard of Vedic authority and a central aspect of soteriological doctrines and practice. The first word is soul, dealing with the soul, right? So, if y'all ever heard of how the moon side of matrix is tying to us coming back here on a repeat. The only way to fully awaken is to awaken to see what's going on. So during my spiritual awakening, I figured out, or I start to see that mentally you have to do some work, spiritually you have to do some work, and then you have to physically do it here. So it's putting in work here actually puts in work somewhere else. So actually claiming your sovereignty is you claiming your freedom mentally, physically, spiritually. Because once you start to see what's going on in reality, you're not going to be in the state of mind of hell. You're going to be in the state of mind of heaven. Okay? This is a start. Even when it seems like you're not going to have a lot of these things or benefits from the U.S., fuck them. Okay? They're literally our enemy. It's just like if someone took your money that you wasn't aware of, and now they're just spending it for their needs and wants and pretty much and not really giving you shit at all, but they're spending your money up on whatever. And then you be looking at them on news and you be like, how are they just giving all this money away and they're not helping no one that's here? They're not helping the homeless or nothing like that. They're just manipulating your money so they can be at a better place. It's business. It's just like if you start a business and start selling stuff, people are going to start buying all of that stuff. And most of that stuff cheap as hell, but when you put it up at a market price, now you can eat. You're profiting. It's like a scheme. It's like I'm pretty much giving you my land, my trust in the state, and you don't even know these people. And then the people that's working under them pretty much set up as pawns to continue this shit. And then a lot of them have pledged the oath of silence. So they're not going to tell you the shit at all. They're just going to let you do it. But it's up to you to figure it out, pretty much. But really, if you just read, you'll start to see stuff for yourself. Even down to Bibles and stuff like that. Not saying there's no truth in it. It's just at the end of the day, you're not comprehending what it's really saying if you're not reading it. So at the end of the day, you're just looking at words and creating what you think it means, except for going off of what it actually means. Like, it's two different. When you read and create, now you're creating a fiction story. Okay? And you're telling hella people that fiction story. Now they're tying down to the manipulation too. And it could seem like it's all working good, but that's only because you're believing in your power. You have the power, okay? Stop giving your power to another entity, because a lot of them other entities is attacking you. They come to try to attack you when you're low, in your dreams and all types of shit, okay? This is really a big thing. It was already a big thing from, as it already says, they're not us, okay? A lot of them are clones or other beings that you don't want to have nothing tied to. You don't need any soul ties to these motherfuckers at all, okay? You have to have peace here and everywhere else. Start off by healing. But I'm saying, as we're going into the physical dimensions, dealing with the psyche, you need to break every contract that you have with them, because that removes the jurisdiction over you, meaning they don't have any power to you. Okay? You can get your power without doing this, but I promise you, you're gonna have even more power when you do. And I'm not saying being the most powerful person in the world. I'm saying getting back your divinity and your consciousness back. You have to do it physically, mentally, spiritually. And as you start to see clearly and get your peace back, start to realize you don't need shit from them. So, because it's like I'm sitting in this house and my family pay for rent and shit. And I'm sitting here knowing if I put it in my name, they don't have to pay rent anymore. This whole house, land, and everything is taken care of. Just because I did something with my name. Okay? You have to free yourself. Like, I got the whole sauce of how I could become rich and wealthy right now, but I did something a little different. So I gotta figure out what the fuck I did. Well, I pretty much know what I did. It's just, your name is the power. Take control over this name like it's a business. If you look at it as a business mindset, it will make so much sense. But it's really a soul tie. And I don't think anyone in this world purposely meant to do that. Okay? So the thing is, a lot of people is not going to, because they're scared. Remove the fear because it's blocking your awareness of what's actually taking place right now. Just like I said, people might have already took the jab because the way people was already talking, it's like we already did it, and that's why we're here now. The only way to wake up from death is remembering who you are. Because if you look at it scientifically, the memory chains, the DNA links link back together and form light, which creates electricity, which pumps back the heart. So at the end of the day, it's like, this is a death experience. Okay? It's pretty much a death experience. And when you break down what death is, it ties back to the brain. It ties back to the machine that was created, the moon, which is a double electro applicator thermohydraulic, which is built just like the brain. It's just really like a movie, and we're just helping remind each other to wake up, because when you can talk to the soul, you can help another person or another cell connect so we can create more light. You feel me? Because this Papa Bull says the Onum Sanctum is a Papa Bull. Okay? So if the Onum Sanctum is a Papa Bull, what is a Papa Bull? It is a type of public decree, letter patent, or a charter issued by a pope of the Catholic Church. It is named after the leading seal bulla traditionally appended to authenticate it. The Papa Bulls have been used at least since the 6th century, which is pretty much saying to the 6th dimension. But phrase was not used until around the end of the 13th century, which is the 4th D, which a lot of people started talking about even more. However, it became official by the 15th century, which is still tying back to the 6th on a loop, when one of the offices of the apostolic chancery was named the Register of Bulls, was the Registrum of Bullorum. By the accession of Pope Leo IX in 1048. Another thing, when you look at these years, another reason why they say time is different. Another reason why they say time is different, right? Because you have to remember, time is a measurement of energy cycles. And when you're dealing with energy cycles, you're dealing with quantum, Doctor Strange, time machines type things. Okay? So when you look at all types of time, 6th century, 7th century, 15th century, that is just a measurement. It's not a time period. This is a measurement of a period. It's pretty much a measurement of the cycles to keep track of the cycles. That's why when I said the 13th century is the 4th D type thing, the 4th dimension or the 4th ether, it's a cycle. I'm only using this for like physical cycles, okay? Because it happens like that, period. Everything operates in cycles, okay? So 1048, you can look at that as a time, a date, a year, because it's all measurements. You can look at it as a ratio. So 1048, that could be a ratio, which is time. Time that's on a clock, those are ratios, okay? That's why it's written out like that, it's ratios. So it's all measurements, low-key. So dealing with time, I think the Papa Bull actually deals with time. And I don't know why it's not popping up on my computer. That's really why I like making videos off my phone. But it looks like I'm gonna have to screen record next time. Some shit. Because it's not pulling up the same thing. And it's throwing me off. Well, it's not throwing me off. It's just making the video longer than what it needs to be. So look. Let's try to look it up again. Papa Bull. Because it definitely said something about time, and it made me want to make this video. Really. So the Papa Bull of 1455 justified the expansion of black African slavery within the Iberian colonies and the acquisition of more African captives and territory. But the same decree also provided a legal framework for the sub-Saharan Africans to negotiate with Iberian authorities on equal footing to make claims of. Later, Pope revoked the decrees, but the damage was done. The Papal Bull were not considered valid just 30 to 40 years after they were first issued. They were, in fact, abrogated legally and nullified by the Vatican by the late 1530s. Never heard that before. Okay, so Pope Alexander VI issued a Papal Bull or decree Inter Caetera, in which he authorizes Spain and Portugal to colonize the Americas and his native peoples as subjects. Okay? The decree asserts the right of Spain and Portugal to colonize, convert, and enslave. It is also justifies the enslavement of Africans. Oh, why did it say time machine? Never looked at that. Big Papa and the Time Machine. Yeah, I was about to give my Papa Bull, my decree, but I think I'm gonna wait till another video. I just wanted to do a little research video. I guess the next video I'll break it down what I was doing it for. Peace.